Hey y'all, it's your friendly neighborhood therapist, and it is super early. Good morning to all the early risers. I had a great night's sleep, went to bed early, surprise, because it's storming. It's been storming, and I slept like a rock because the rain just kept me out. And also, we're dealing with possible tornadoes. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. But on any note, woke up really early this morning, and I wanted to share something with y'all that I came across, and it's a quote by Mary Shelley. If you don't know who Mary Shelley is, she is the mother of science fiction, the author of Frankenstein. She doesn't always get that credit, but she absolutely is the mother of science fiction. But anyway, this quote, first of all, I love the quote, and it kind of resonated for me. But also, there are two things that I want to add to it that she maybe neglected to think about or know. So, anyway, the quote reads: "The history of villains is much more entertaining than that of heroes, because monsters are not born, they are created. They do not emerge from emptiness or darkness of their own accord, but are shaped by circumstances, by the wounds of the world around them. They reflect the depths of human pain, rejection, loneliness, and misunderstanding. A hero is defined by his acts of bravery, but a villain is the result of a heart that was once pure and ended up corrupted. Monsters, in their tragedy, show us what could happen to us all if the world were to turn its back on us." Now, I don't know what made this stick out to me other than it resonating with me, because I thought about the fact that I relate to villain stories. Like, I loved Cruella de Vil and Maleficent and all the villain arc stories. We get to learn about the background of the villain, what caused you to turn into this, right? Because we often think something had to happen to make you this way. But here's where I deviate a little bit from Mary Shelley. First of all, villains can absolutely be born. Even though I'm on my deconstruction journey, I still heavily believe that if good exists, evil exists, and these things are innate. Now, can it be taught? Yes. Can it occur from tragedy and trauma? Absolutely. But also, people can be born that way. And if I want to go on the mental health medical side of things, that's due to mishaps in the brain development, right? From very early on. That's why people can be born that way. But also, evil has nothing to do with how you're born. Okay? That's if you believe that. And then, secondly, heroes. Now, she only talked about how heroes are defined, but I recognize that heroes are often born of the same circumstance that villains are. They just consciously choose to take a different path. So, see, villains and heroes are cut from the same cloth, they just wear it differently. Heroes typically are your people who are wounded healers because they know tragedy and trauma and pain. They don't want anybody else to go through it, so they end up wanting to save the world versus contribute more to the pain and harm. But on any note, what really, really made me focus on this is the fact that, one, you can be the villain in someone else's story. That's not up to you. And often we have been the villain in someone else's story because we have projected our pain in such a way that it has harmed them, to no intentional fault of our own, but because we hadn't learned or healed. So it manifested in a maladaptive way and it harmed other people. But then I got to thinking about the fact that I can relate and resonate with and understand some villains and not others. And it made me think about Tupe Fiasco and people like him and Elonia Musk, those type of people who are absolute villains. I read the book that Tupe's niece, Mary Trump, wrote about his upbringing. And I realized he could have gone a different route like some heroes do. Even though they might have trauma and pain and tragedy, they still choose a different route. But what he did was he became the very person that his father was and that his father created. I mean, he's 10 times worse than his daddy. But that's who he became. And it's so important for us to recognize the why. why someone is the way they are. It doesn't justify it because unfortunately, trauma doesn't justify harm and it never will because you have the conscious option to choose differently. But that's not always easy because we tend to lean into what we are indoctrinated with. And that became easier to understand the more I understood how growing up in the church affects a lot of people. Growing up in the church means you are likely going to believe that until something happens to make you question, right? So you grow up, you believe what you believe, and nobody can alter your beliefs. Nobody can say anything to make you change your mind. It's the same with people who grow up and are taught hate. That's what they believe. It is very hard to alter someone's core beliefs. So, not to excuse villainous behavior, but to understand the why. And oddly enough, even though I understand the why, I still can't stand that man. I can't, like, actively choosing to harm people versus heal yourself is never going to sit right with me because we can choose to do better than what we were taught, than what we were always told to believe. So, although I can resonate with and understand some villain stories, like, I'm sorry, when I watched Maleficent, I was on her side. Cruella de Vil, on her side. But some, I just can't, even though I know why they are the way they are, or possibly why they are the way they are. And I know that they are projecting all of their hurt and harm and trauma onto the world. But I just want y'all to realize how very easy it is to create a villain. We're going to not talk about the ones who are just born that way or innately evil, but to create a villain. It's very easy. Very easy. So, yeah, just some random thoughts after reading that quote. Y'all have a beautiful, wonderful rest of y'all day, and I will holler at y'all later.